evening, folks.
We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family. We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. Bring the family. Bring your friends. We hope you have a wonderful time. Come back soon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Knights of the Pageless Library. We are a little podcast dedicated to reviewing audiobooks. I am Bo Knight, and I am joined, as always, by my brother Ryan Knight. And today, we are taking a look at Dark Tower 1, The Gunslinger, written by Stephen King and narrated by George Guidall, I think is how you say his last name.
Pretty sure that's how they said it, yeah. Guidall, Guidall.
Yeah, Guidall, yeah, something like that. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, George.
I think it's Guidall, but yeah. If you know exactly how to pronounce it and you want to email us about that, please feel free to email us about that or anything else at kotpl.pod@gmail.com. Still the easiest way to get a hold of us. But pretty much if you Google search Knights of the Pageless Library, you'll find out that we are all over the place. So feel free to get a hold of us in any way you see fit.
Yeah.
The Dark Tower, Book 1 by Stephen King. When did this come out? It's been out for a long time, hasn't it?
I think the book came out in 1993.
Originally,
but the audiobook came out in 2003. This
Really?
audiobook. I don't know if there was like a different version where they like updated it.
It looks like there at least was on Audible, because I see two different versions. And actually, this one says that it looks like the book was originally published in 1982. So let me get my information straight here before I completely mislead people. I want to see exactly when this came out. Not on Audible. Not on Audible, Google. Looks like... Oh, now I'm off in the weeds. I would like to see...
so the original The Gunslinger came out in 1982. You were right.
Oh, wow. Okay, the original book was in 1980. Holy crap, okay.
Yeah, so this must have been one of Stephen King's kind of early works.
Right. Looks like there's also a movie, which I will comment on that later.
Oh, have you seen it?
I have not seen it, but I just Googling that, I see that there is a movie about it.
And this is actually not the first book. I guess there is a 0.5 called The Little Sisters of Illyria. That's just like a little short story.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Also didn't know that. See, learn all kinds of stuff about the book now that we're talking about it. Either way, that is the version we're listening to. So if you happen to listen to this book somewhere else, if you pirate it somewhere else, if you listen to it on YouTube in 30 different parts by some random guy reading it, your mileage will vary from ours. So just know that the version narrated by George Guidall that came out in... This one actually looks like it came out in 2016, the one that we're listening to. Must have been remastered or something.
Yeah, or maybe they put a new narrator on there.
They must have done something, because if it came out in 2003, it sounds great for then. So.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I don't know why that says that. It says Penguin Audio Recording 2003.
That might have been when they initially recorded it, but then I see this other thing that says that the release date for the one we are listening to says 2016. So
Okay, yeah, maybe they did do like a remastered thing.
Not 100% sure what's going on there, but either way, that is the one we are listening to.
So, what did you think of Mr. Guidall?
I think for this book that he was a really good fit.
Okay, interesting.
I feel like his voice and the way he did his characters fit the tone of this book surprisingly well, if that makes sense. He didn't necessarily, kind of blow my socks off or anything, but he did very well. However, you know what I just realized?
What?
When we were talking to Garrett Michael Brown, he asked us if we'd ever heard of George Guidall.
And we both were like, no.
Yeah, because we're dumb.
We're liars.
Apparently we are liars because we listened to this book. No, he did. He asked us if we'd ever heard of him.
Never heard of him. You're dumb.
This guy has over 800 titles on Audible. So been around the block, for a while. But I thought his fit in this book especially. Now, I don't know, out of all the other books he's done, how he does his characters and things like that. He's
something to me, just I find myself wanting to fall asleep listening to him. I don't know what it is. Something about like his cadence of the way he does his words. I don't know, it kind of like lulls me to sleep, and I found it really hard to pay attention.
Okay. No, and I think that's fair, to be honest. And I listened to this sped up considerably at about 1.4 speed. I think if you listen to this on 1 speed, you'd for sure it'd be a struggle to get through.
Well, the first time I tried to listen to this book, I was on a plane, and I remember putting my headphones in and getting through like the first 4 sentences and falling asleep immediately.
It's one of those voices that'll put you right away to sleep.
Which isn't a bad thing. I don't know what it is. It's just like something about him. It just kind of like makes me want to fall asleep.
Sure. And he's a bit flat and a bit monotone. I mean, he does character voices, but they're not crazy. They're not all over the place, unique, distinct characters. But I thought for this book, it was actually a pretty good fit. I don't think that he takes away from this story by any means.
No, I don't think he does either.
Obviously a very prolific author, for sure, if he has that many titles under his belt. Or, excuse me, yes, narrator. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, what genre would you put this in?
It's kind of hard. This, to me, I mean, I had heard of The Dark Tower before, but I had never read or listened to it until we were talking about what we were going to do next, and I kind of just said, "Oh, we got this on our Audible. Let's do this one." I honestly didn't know what I was getting into. I was not expecting a Western sort of low fantasy, low sci-fi story.
Yeah, but is that even what's going on?
I don't think so. Because there's also some time travel elements.
Is it time travel? Okay, never mind. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's a very strange story, and it is hard to describe what the exact category of it is. And you know what's funny? On Audible, they don't even have a genre listed underneath it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Apparently, they didn't even want to try to categorize it.
This is
either.
A Dark Tower genre?
Yeah. It's its own genre. I don't know. It's not really even a Western. I say Western because that's sort of you get like this old-timey town setting. He's kind of traversing these desert-like places, and I guess you could hear that little, when you see little tumbleweed blowing across. Yeah. I mean, I could see that being part of the story, but that's not technically what it is either.
Western's not quite right either.
No, it's really not. It kind of does stand on its own in a way, in as far as the genre, because it's not sci-fi. I say sci-fi, but that's technically, it is science fiction, but as far as I know, there's no like spaceships and aliens.
But there is magic. Kinda.
Kinda. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what category I would put this under, or genre. I guess if
this one's not very long, it's only 7 hours. I was expecting kind of something a lot longer than this for being especially book 1 in a long series.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Stephen King, usually a lot of his stories are longer. I mean, even book 2 in this series is 13 hours. So it kind of surprised me as well that it is actually a pretty short listen. Let's get into the big questions. Is this one easy to follow?
I don't think so. And this is the second time I've listened to this, and there are so many moments I just find myself like scratching my head because I feel like the emphasis on like, I don't know how else to put it other than like sexual things that are not sexual at all is very puzzling to me. And I often just found my brain like being like, what? Wait, what? I find this like almost incomprehensible. And maybe I'm just too stupid.
No, it was, I wish I had listened to it a second time. This is a difficult listen.
And I wouldn't even put, it's not dense because it's not a lot happens.
No.
It's almost in the way that things are described, I just find puzzling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. This is definitely, it feels like, while very cohesive, this feels just kind of like listening to someone's string of consciousness.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to put it.
Because the things that you're hearing can switch on a dime with no rhyme or reason why they changed to what the subject matter is. And then you get these things where there's clearly some kind of universe trend, what's the word, like these universes are like bumping into each other and they're trying to blur the lines between them with some of these characters, but we as the listener are not given any rhyme or reason why.
Right.
So, and yeah, like you said, it's not dense. There's not a ton of things that happen. It's pretty short. But god damn, it's pretty hard to listen to. Like,
yeah.
I found myself interested the whole time. I'm not going to say I wasn't interested in what's going on, but I definitely did find myself like, wait a minute, what is going on? What?
Yeah, I've definitely a lot of like confusing things and a lot more questions than answers for sure. And I mean, sure, especially with like a long series, of course, but I don't know, like the shape the world takes, I don't really get it. Like I don't really get it at all. Like I don't really understand like where this place fits in.
No, because at first I just assumed it was something that he kind of made up in his head, which is kind of how it starts out. But then real world things that exist right now, where you and I exist, also exist within this story.
But in like a distorted form.
Right. And I think there's some lines in there that we get towards the end.
Right.
That,
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that here in a minute when we pass the spoiler wall. But I feel like that's kind of what he was trying to encompass in this story, and maybe that's the series expands on it even more, because those lines, I mean, honestly, they had me just kind of like looking at the ground, my eyes like wide open, like, oh shit, it's kind of blowing my mind right now. And I feel like that's something he's going to expand on later in the series. I just don't know if we get enough in this first book to really understand it.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's roll right into the recommendations before we talk about the story. What do you think?
I don't think I can recommend this one. Like,
okay,
I didn't really enjoy it, and it wasn't interesting enough to want to continue. If that makes, like, I don't really care about the rest of the series. Like, it's puzzling, but I don't know. Like, I don't really find the characters that compelling. I don't know. This story is like, the main vibe I get is just weird. Yeah. Not like kind of like an intriguing world that I want to know more about. It's just like, this is just strange, and the way things are described is so odd, and like the like sexual overtones are in my opinion completely out of place and don't belong at all, and like I find them extremely off-putting.
They're almost in an unsettling way, because like you said, it very clearly is meant to be a sexual thing, But then, like you said, it by the time they're done describing it, you're almost just more like, what? Like,
Yeah.
And they are strange, and they almost feel a bit out of place. But yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying. I feel like I'm in the same boat. I thought this was interesting, but exactly like you said, it's not interesting in a way where I want to know what's going to happen next. It was almost interesting in you finish it and you put it down, you're like, huh, that was interesting, and you move on with your day.
Yeah, and you're like,
It's
I'm thinking about that.
right, and it's not for the sheer fact that it's so strange that I don't really know what parts of it I would pick out to be interested in. Okay, what's going to happen next? Because I want to know what's going to happen next with the Gunslinger? Kinda, maybe. But I feel like there was enough.
Feel like Roland is that interesting.
Well, and I feel like there was enough character development in this story alone that I understand him already. He's not a super deep character.
No,
so...
I mean the book even says like he's non-creative. He just like is a force.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And yeah, like the Man in Black is not really that interesting either. Like he's supposed to be like this mysterious figure, but
he's just weird. He's weird.
He's just weird to be weird.
Right. It's not like, it's not ever like he, like if you had a straight fantasy story where you had this main villain who happened to, at one point, he flashes his sword and it's got this crazy gem on the bottom of it, that now our main character's like, maybe that's the source of his power. That's not this. The Man in Black is just weird. There's no explanation for it.
And he's been around for a long time.
Right. And apparently so has Roland. But
see, yeah, okay. Because I kind of get the vibe that like the world was different as Roland was growing up, right? And he's like watched it decay.
That could be, yeah. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and pass the spoiler wall.
Okay.
So there you go. You got two kind of mixed, that we didn't really give a solid yes or no. I mean, both, you're pretty much a no. I don't know if I could. I don't know who I would recommend this to. Let's put it that way.
That's how I come up with. It's like I don't know. I would almost feel embarrassed if I was like, yeah, check it out, dude. It's because it's so weird and like I don't know. It's hard to pick out like even nuggets that I was like, yeah, I really like this.
Right. Well, that's because normally if I recommend a book, it would be because I recommend it to someone, maybe because I think it's a genre they might be into. But I would also recommend it in the hopes that later they would want to come to me and be like, oh, dude, when we got to this part, holy cow, that was crazy. But like you said, there's no parts in this book that are like that. They would just be like, yeah, I finished it, and I don't really know how I feel about it. Because there's not really anything to latch onto here that was, that had me crazy invested in it.
And maybe the series gets better, but if this is like his opening thing, it's like his opening gambit on this series, I just find it more puzzling than intriguing.
Right. And maybe that could be because it is something that he did earlier on in his career. I mean, and it's not like Stephen King isn't known for writing weird things.
Right.
It's just, this one is weird. I mean, it's weird. So, yeah, what do you think? With that, should we just go ahead and pass
we can go past the spoiler wall.
Okay, so for anybody who's new here, if you haven't heard us do this before, we're going to go ahead and talk about the story, at least what we can or cannot remember about it, and we're going to spoil it. So if it's something you really want to listen to, you don't think you can go without listening to The Dark Tower, pause the podcast, go listen to the book, come back here, hear what we have to say about it.
Yeah. So this whole book is first person, or like Roland remembering his memories.
Yeah, because
we don't shift perspective at all.
Right. But for the most part, it is told. Well, no, because don't you get the shots of the kid, right?
Yeah, but that's the kid talking to Roland.
Oh, because it's the same thing too, right? And when it's that girl's perspective, that's her telling him the story. Yeah, so the way they do it is kind of strange because we are basically Roland as the listener, hearing these people tell their stories, but you switch perspective, kind of, as if you were seeing that story through their eyes. If that makes any sense. I know it doesn't, but that's what happens. Basically, though, Roland, the gunslinger, the main character, yeah, it's all pretty much, this is either through his eyes or right over his shoulder.
Yeah, and it opens up right with him kind of traversing through the desert, and he meets a man who's like growing corn, and he has a bird named Zoltan. I only remember that because it's especially weird.
Zoltan, and make the Z with your hands.
Yeah,
like in Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah. Yeah. We would also like some egg rolls.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, he's talking to him, and he kind of like tells him a story about where he came from, and then we flash back to him in this town, right?
Is that what happened? I honestly don't know. In the beginning, is the stuff that happens in the town before he met this dude with the corn?
That's how I interpreted it. Is this when he goes back to the town? This is him telling the story. To the guy. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, I think you're right.
It is super confusing because like, why wouldn't you just fucking start there?
Yeah,
but so yeah, he goes to this town, and at this point we already know that he's looking for the man in black, and he doesn't even remember how long he's been following him, but he's just been following him and following him and following him all over the world. I guess I don't even feel confident saying that.
Yeah, the continent. I don't know.
Yeah, but is it a yeah, it's so fucking confusing.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest.
So he rolls up into this town, and he immediately blows people's minds because he orders 3 hamburgers, and the lady's like, well, you got to pay for that before I'll give them to you. And he just slides her a gold piece. And so he has lots of money, and everybody here is poor. Everything is dusty. The crops really aren't growing. Like, nothing is really thriving. And he ends up having sex with this girl. It's so weird that
it's very strange. Yeah.
The way she describes that she has an itch that like only he can scratch just like makes me like, ugh, like don't. If a girl ever said that to me, I'm like, well, scratch it yourself, because fuck you. That's gross.
After he has sex with her, though, right? We get like a flashback within a flashback, right?
Yep,
from her.
Do. Of him being like a little kid, right?
Well, because
no, you're right. About the number 19 that you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. Because okay, so while he's at that bar, right, there's that dude who's like sleeping the whole time, who he gets up and he straight is like addicted to this weed substance, right? Like it's all in his teeth and stuff.
Yeah, it's like something you chew.
Are you supposed to, or are you supposed to smoke it? But he's so addicted that he is chewing.
That's a great question. I wasn't sure. I don't know if you're supposed to smoke it and he's just chewing it. I don't know.
I think they mention that because it's a point that he has it all in his teeth, because that's what Roland mentions, that it shouldn't obviously be in your teeth because he's resorted to chewing this stuff or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're probably right.
So that guy kind of like goes psycho, and the gal, I don't even remember how they put him back to sleep. I don't honestly remember what happens. But the gal explains that dude is dead to Roland.
Well,
right?
She tells him a story of him coming in one night and dying. And then the man in black was already in the bar, and he resurrects him, essentially. He brings him back to life. And nothing's wrong with him. He's totally fine. And then he gives her a note. And on the note, it says, like, if you want to know what being dead is like, tell him the number 19. You won't be able to stop yourself. At some point, you will. Tell him the number 19, and you'll know everything about what being dead is like.
Right. And this part was kind of eerie. I mean,
it's super creepy. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm. But again, yeah, more weird than anything. And then the only thing that's really that really stood out to me with this too is that guy that he brought back to life. He brought the guy back, and one of that guy's first complaints when he came back to life is that he was still addicted to the weed.
Yeah.
And he's like, he could have at least taken the addiction away. Like,
Yeah.
and he's more addicted now even than he was when he was alive. So it's pretty fucked up. And then we flash back to as far as current times with this lady and Roland. And then because Roland is he stays with this lady, right, for a couple days.
Yeah, like 3 days.
Right, which he is like, I should really be after the man in black, you know, I don't know why I'm staying here with this lady. I really should be getting a move on. And what transpires? Because doesn't the whole town go nuts on him?
He goes and talks to the preacher lady who's supposed to be like super rotund, huge.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude, and this is... Oh, okay.
And
this is one of those parts you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like the sexual stuff?
Exactly, dude. He describes her thighs as being slabs of marble, and all he wants to do is be in between them. And immediately I'm like, what? Wait, what? Excuse me? What's going on? And she kind of explains, right, that the man in black put a god baby in her.
Yeah, an angel, I think.
An angel, and then Roland's like, that's a demon. And he gives her an abortion, right? Kind of?
Yeah,
in a weird roundabout way.
With his gun, right? I mean...
Or does he shoot her, or does he... Or I see, like, this is a part I don't really understand, because it's described so weird.
Yeah, I just think... I'm pretty sure he pulls out his gun, puts it to her stomach at first, because he needs her to tell him where the man in black went, right? Isn't that what he's asking her? And she just keeps saying, you know, I'm going to have this angel and, you know, we will kill you because you're whatever. They don't even really say like spawn of Satan or anything, but they think that the gunslinger is the demon, or they've convinced her, and she's convinced her followers of that. And then, he like shoots her, but like I don't fully know what happens because she doesn't die. She's not dead. But she does say that he ruined the angel or whatever. So, but she also like has an orgasm at the same time.
Yeah, dude, it's so fucking weird.
It's almost uncomfortable to listen to.
Yeah, dude, it is weird. And then like you were saying, that the town goes crazy, or essentially, or I think they're under the Man in Black's spell, and they all attack Roland.
But the one lady also says that she said the number, or she said 19 to the one guy.
And so that maybe that's what triggered it all. I don't know.
Right, and they all attack him.
Yeah, and he slaughters them all.
He murders them he lives up to his gunslinger name. Let's just put it that way. That he slaughters them all. So, just a little side tangent here. Hearing this part, I think this book, I don't know how the movie actually turned out. It's a live action movie. I might have to watch it now. I think this story in itself would make a pretty cool, like, stylized cartoon.
Yeah.
A very, like, adult themed, stylized. I don't know. For some reason, I just have this picture of, like, this gunslinger with, like, his straight cowboy hat on. He's got kind of like his duster on, and it's like blowing in the wind behind him. Like, super stylized though for some reason. And this part right here, I was like, oh, this would be a pretty sick scene with the stylized cartoon where he's shooting all these essentially zombies that are coming after him.
Yeah, and I do like that. Like he's trained really well, and I like how they don't really explain it, but I get the vibe that he can reload his guns really fast, because he always says he does his reloading trick.
Yeah. Yep. I also like, though, he's not invincible.
No, he gets stabbed by a little girl like in the arm with his a fork.
See, and I have to say that even just little details like that, I do appreciate that the main character, he's not infallible, he's not invincible. It does give you a little bit more sense of tension when things are like that, instead of like the King Arthur story we just listened to, where that dude could do no wrong. It didn't really matter. I mean, yeah, he gets jacked up when he fights the Sable Knight, but then they're immediately like, oh, and he's healed, and now he's right back at what he's doing. This guy, when he gets hurt, he gets hurt, and it stays with him because he talks about that cut later on that when he gets stabbed. I mean, it comes back up in the story, so I do appreciate stuff like that.
So after this, we cut back to him having dinner with the guy, and they kind of like posture a little bit because Roland he's assuming everything he comes across is a trap by the man in black, and so he's like, maybe I'm just gonna murder you, and the guy's like, well, go ahead. I honestly don't care. And then his mule dies.
Yeah, I didn't understand that at all.
Okay. See, I don't understand this either because one of two things happens, right? I think the mule either died of its own or Zoltan pecked out the eyes, which killed it.
Yeah, because
I don't know which one happened first. Because I don't know.
Right, because doesn't that guy say your mule passed in the night? Yeah. And then he looks over and Zoltan has already pecked the eyes out of it. Yeah, like they're gone.
So I don't know, but Roland doesn't get too upset, and he just continues on his way. And then we get flashbacks as he's walking of Roland's like past and his father. His father's a king in a land that doesn't exist anymore, and his mother is like this cold, unfeeling person. And he's kind of describing his training to become a gunslinger, right?
Right, because he, as far as he knows, and he's mentioned this in the beginning, that he is the last gunslinger, as far as he knows.
But we just get, and then this first bit is him and his friend Cuthbert. No, or is Cuthbert the bad guy, the dick?
I honestly can't remember. There's like 4 of them, right? 4 of the young boys.
Yeah,
in the training.
But they get in trouble, so they can't eat. The cook feeds them underneath, like kind of like hiding in this granary, and they overhear that one of the guys is going to poison the kids on purpose so that they're like sick and cannot like train the next day because like they're worried about something. But he tattles on him. Mm-hmm. I think I'm combining a couple parts here, but it's probably okay. So he tattles on him, and his dad is actually pissed at him for being a tattletale.
Right. And the biggest thing I gathered from these flashbacks of Roland's past is that his training was very
brutal.
Yeah, almost like samurai-esque too, where the expectation is that training is purely what you are there to do. Mm-hmm. You're not there to have fun. You're not there to do anything else other than train. And it's almost like that Ninja Assassin movie.
Oh yeah,
where that's all they're there for. You eat, you sleep, you train. Period. That's what you're doing.
What a deep cut Ninja Assassin, dude.
Yeah, you like that?
Oh man, that movie's great. It just makes me think of that scene where he's like giving that girl water, like by putting the reed in the water and like putting it through the bars.
Putting it through, and her lips are cracked.
Oh yeah, because she's so freaking dehydrated.
Yeah. It makes me think of the scene where he's walking through the hallway and he creaks the board. So he has to put his foot up, and the dude smacks his foot so hard it splits it, and then he has to walk on his split feet. That's what Roland's training is like. It's this brutal, just insane training, which I do like the culmination of this, though, when we get to that.
Yes, and we should mention David the Hawk, which I don't know why I find the idea of having a falcon named David hilarious.
Okay. Yeah.
Isn't that funny to me? Like, this is my
kind of
bird,
funny.
David.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is my dog, Scott.
Right. I mean, going from the name Zoltan, especially, too.
Exactly.
It's very contrasting.
David, my bird. And so this is when he rolls up on like an abandoned farmhouse, and at this point he's out of food, he's out of water, and he thinks he sees the man in black, so he pulls his gun, but he like collapses and passes out because he's just so dehydrated and everything.
Yeah, because we get a bit of a jump cut, right? Because he's going through this hard, like huge desert, right?
Yeah.
And he's been going. The jump cut is after like a week or something. He can't even really remember.
Yeah, he it's hard to keep track of the days.
And we should say that's kind of what makes this story, in my opinion, even more difficult to follow, is that our narrator, in terms of the main character, is kind of unreliable.
Yeah.
So this is not a book where they're going to spoon feed you all the information like, oh, in the 3 days, and then they're going to zoom out and they're going to tell you what happened to Roland. No. He doesn't remember. Therefore, we as the listener don't get to know.
Yeah. And this is where we meet like basically the other character of the book, the boy.
Yeah.
Which,
the boy.
this is where it gets even more confusing to me.
Yeah, very confusing because the boy helps Roland, right? Because Roland obviously is all jacked up, being dehydrated. And is this the part where Roland asks him where the kid came from? The kid can't remember?
He tells him the man in black was there a couple days before him. But he asks him, he's like, do you want to be put to sleep? Do you want to go to sleep? And kid's like, I'm not tired. And I'm like, well, I'll make you tired. And he does
that's right.
something with the bullet. And whatever he does, he's able to pull the memories out of the kid that the kid doesn't even remember. And essentially, the vibe I get, right, is the kid is from New York City. And the man in black killed him, which brought him here.
Yeah. And
wait, what?
And not only that, I don't remember if it's at this point, but when the scene that we get when the kid dies is actually very unnerving.
So fucking brutal.
Yeah, because does the man in black push him out in front of the car? Is that what happens?
He pushes him in front of a car. That's the vibe I got.
Yeah,
maybe
and then
that's
the kid
not
gets
right,
ran over by this car, and basically he's talking about how he's laying there on the ground and all he can feel is the warmth as he can see the blood running up from like his hips, which his pelvis is crushed. And then he remembers waking up there where he's at now. And it's very unnerving though. Like I did a terrible job describing it. A few of these key scenes in this book though are scenes that I was just like, ugh. Give me the heebie-jeebies.
And so the boy agrees, or not, I don't even know if he like agrees. He like knows he needs to go with Roland. But before they leave, this part makes literally no sense to me. He goes down into the basement and collects some cans of food. But like while he's down there, a spirit speaks to him and tells him that while he's traveling with the boy, the man in black is traveling with your heart. Which,
yes.
Okay. But so he gets the source of a spirit, which is a broken jawbone, which if you can explain why this thing has magical powers to me and is useful later, I would love it, because I don't get it at all.
No, me neither, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't. He calls it like a wandering spirit or something like that. Like it has a specific name. Yeah, that part is super fucking weird. And this is another part that's also odd, is like this the spot that they're at, right, is like an old way station for stuff. Like there are like old what would you call that? Like old insignias of like the people who made it and stuff like that. But there are parts of it that are pristine and still work, which is so weird.
Yeah, because he says something about the one of the mechanisms is running thousands of years.
Yeah,
like it still is just doing the same thing after thousands of years, which is very strange. Yeah,
and they're able to like jerry-rig the pump so they can get some water. And they continue through the desert. And yeah, go ahead.
Is this where we get the flashback then of Roland's past with his like culmination of his training somewhere in here?
Yeah, that's a little bit later. That's like I think that's actually after he does like his little mescaline trip thing.
Is it after they get attacked by the whatchamacallits?
No, that's when they find the hand car.
Okay.
Yeah, but they have like a couple nights, and Roland tells him a couple stories. But we can go ahead and I think talk about that now. It probably fits. So in order to become a gunslinger, you have to beat your mentor, and Roland is attempting to do it 2 years earlier than anybody else who's ever done it. And the other person who did it that young was his father.
Yeah.
And so he's attempting to do it, I think, at 16. And this part is actually really cool. He has a plan, and you have to. So they square off, and the whole point is to get his mentor's stick, and he wins if he has a hold of his mentor's stick. He wins. Right. But he has to declare his weapon, and his weapon that he uses is David the Hawk.
Right.
Which this part's pretty cool. I mean, do you want to talk about this a little bit?
I like this part. This is probably my favorite part in the whole book.
I agree with you. But like these flashbacks almost feel like a different book to me.
Yep, I agree. And I just think that the fight scene is actually pretty well fleshed out.
Oh, it's super fleshed out, especially like all the stuff that happens to David is so graphic.
Yep, that's what I was just gonna say. It's so brutal. Like while you're listening to this, you feel this fight that these guys are having, because essentially what Roland does is he tells the Hawk to attack the master, and even though he knows the Hawk can't do a lot, but he's just hoping. And
we should say too that David is like old at this point. Like he's kind of like ending like his Hawk. He's like getting on in years. Like he's not, doesn't have a lot longer.
Right. And basically his idea though is that the Hawk will distract his master long enough that he can just snatch the stick and have it over with. And it almost works immediately, because even his master is like, he's like, that's a pretty clever move, right before he throws David at him.
Yeah.
And David proceeds to freaking claw this dude's ear off and claw across, because he has one bad eye, right?
Yeah.
Claws across his other good eye. And there's a couple back and forths before the dude literally hits himself in the face with his stick to smash the bird's back.
But but he knocks David out of the air, and David is broken on the ground and still attacking him, and like latches his claws into his leg. Like David doesn't just give up.
Right. And at one point, the kid, Roland, picks the bird up, whose wings are broken, and he throws the bird again at the dude, and David attacks Roland too, because he's attacking just, like, everything,
ripping at his arm. Yeah.
And then he throws the freaking bird. The bird gets a hold of the guy again before he ends up, because what's the dude do? He falls on both of them, right? They like David ends up in between them, and he falls on both of them to crush the bird essentially. But at this point is when Roland gets a hold of the stick, and then even though he wins when he gets the stick, I love that he just fucking cracks this dude across the head with it.
Yeah.
He's had enough of this shit, basically.
Yeah, and Roland even says, he's like, I had a feeling that I will be the last gunslinger.
Right. The way that this ties in to the bigger story, and Roland kind of tells us this as the listener, is that basically what he did with David, he knew he was sacrificing David when he chose him as his weapon. He knew for sure David wouldn't make it out of the other side. And he thinks, he doesn't even know, because again, he's an unreliable narrator. He's pretty sure that's what the kid is there for as well.
Right. And at this point, they make it to the mountains, so they make it past the desert. There's actually something beyond that. And Roland like knows of an oracle in the area, but the only way to speak to the oracle is to go on a mescaline trip, which mescaline is like what you get from the cactuses, right?
I think so. That sounds right to me. I could be wrong, but that sounds
maybe
right.
That's not. I don't know enough about it, but so he like goes on a trip. He has sex with this oracle, which is so fucking. But like I put it in terms like that, but like almost hearing it, it doesn't even really sound like sex. It sounds so weird. And is the oracle really even a real thing? Like I don't know. It's all so weird. But the oracle essentially tells him the same thing, that like the boy is your bargaining chip to learn more about your destiny and the Dark Tower.
Right. And this is when they get to the
handcar?
Yeah. The tunnel thing, right?
The handcar. Why does the handcar have like a little speaker thing on it?
I don't know, to be honest, because it's like one of those like cartoon pump up and down hand cars, right?
Like on both sides. But like
Yeah.
every time they do it, the car's like, oh, a little more, a little more.
I
Like,
don't know.
Are
dude.
hand
Yeah,
cars
I don't
set
know.
up that way? It almost feels like they have technology, but it's distorted just a little bit, right?
Yeah. But to the point where, as the listener, it's pretty confusing.
Yeah, it's super confusing to me. Yeah. So yeah, they fly through. They do this hand car thing, and they end up in like a dark tunnel with a river running through it, where they can't even see for like days and days and days. They go on this hand car, and then they run into mutants, which I don't understand what they look like, really.
Yeah, because they have like tentacles, but they're like zombies.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's because at first I was picturing people,
me
like
too.
just regular zombies. But then yeah, he says something about that their limbs had distorted into tentacles and they're no longer human. I think. But they're really slow, right? Aren't they like the shamblers or something they call them? And at one point there's stones on the track, right? So they can't get their cart past. And since the kid can't move the cart on his own, Roland is shooting at these things behind them, and they're not really going down, kind of like they're zombies. So he tells the kid, you have to get off and move the stuff in the track so we can keep going. And for some reason, the kid apparently also knows he's going to be sacrificed, right? Because he's like, no, I'm not doing that because you just want me to die or something. But Roland's like, no, I need you to just move these rocks out of the way so we can keep going so we both don't die. I honestly don't really, it's pretty confusing.
Well, the kid does survive this.
Yeah, he survives this
make
part.
it through.
Uh-huh.
And then they meet the man in black. And then I honestly don't know what happens to the kid. I have no fucking idea. I don't know where he goes, what happens to him. I don't have either. No idea.
Because there's literally a part, because the kid is trying to get away from Roland kind of at one point. I mean, they're together, but the kid it basically has gotten to the kid that he's going to be sacrificed. So at one point, he's like, oh, here, I found a spot. We need to jump right here. I don't even know where they are. Are they in a tunnel at this point?
I don't know. I get the feeling that they're like up in the mountains on like a plateau maybe, and they're like jumping across a chasm, but that could be totally incorrect.
But was it like a rail trestle bridge type thing?
Yeah, maybe that's a better way to put it.
Okay, because they're standing on something, and Roland's like, you need to jump now because otherwise the whole thing's gonna fall because whatever they're on is unstable.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid jumps into darkness, as far as I understand, and then Roland follows him, but Roland like lands in water.
Yeah.
And then he meets the man in black.
Yeah. Okay. That is exactly what happens. Okay. See, because this part is really confusing to me because it's like him and the kid are together, and then boom, he's with the man in black, and they don't talk about the kid again.
That's okay. I thought I was crazy, but
no, you're not crazy.
Yeah, that is what happens, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's very little transition there. I feel like.
No, I totally agree with you. It's very abrupt. Like it's like, okay, now he's talking to the man in black, and this is the part that you were talking about, right?
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate about this a little bit? Because the man in black talks about, I guess, what the Dark Tower is for.
I guess, yeah. So the answers are supposed to be in the Dark Tower, right? But the way I understood it is he basically tells Roland, you don't want the answers that are held within the Dark Tower, because basically what they have this conversation that everything we see around us, and this is kind of how he's explaining it to Roland, right? This is our world, and it's within a universe, and it's within a galaxy, and blah, blah, blah. But he's saying, how do you know that what we are in is as big as we perceive it? how do you know that something like our universe couldn't exist within a grain of sand in the desert?
Or a blade of grass.
Right. So therefore, how do you know every time you're walking through the desert and you're kicking hundreds of grains of sand every step that you're not destroying trillions of galaxies and trillions of worlds like ours with every single step you take? How can you be sure you're not? And yeah, this was one of those parts where I just I had to put my head down. I was like, I don't like super philosophical stuff like this. It's like that part in Men in Black where once they do everything and they get the galaxy that's on Orion's belt, it contains a galaxy in that marble, and then at the very end of the movie it zooms way out and it shows that everything in our galaxy is within a marble.
Yeah, the aliens are playing with with marbles that are our galaxy.
Right. I mean, how do we know it's not like that? I mean,
we don't.
It is weird.
And then the book just kind of ends. Are we missing anything?
We probably are. I guarantee we are.
Well, I mean, we are, for sure. But he talks to the Man in Black, and then he wakes up, and the Man in Black is gone, and Roland's by himself.
Yep.
And he just knows that he needs to continue on, and it ends.
That's how I felt at the end. Okay, yeah, I thought I was
very
confused.
Abrupt. It's and it's over.
Yeah. Almost one of those stories that would have benefited from being a little bit longer than 7 hours.
Yeah, I agree.
So it had a little bit more room to breathe. I mean, obviously, Stephen King got across the parts that he wanted to in his mind, but for someone like me who's not very smart, it's really hard to put. It still feels like a puzzle that maybe I finished the border of, but I have no idea what goes in the middle.
Yeah, I got the corner pieces set, and that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I found 4 pieces that have corners, and it's as far as I've gotten in this.
The rest of this is just pure blue sky. Okay.
It's yeah. Have you seen those joke gifts where the box it's a blue sky with the moon, and that's the whole puzzle?
Yeah.
That's what this feels like.
Omi would have enjoyed.
Right? That is what this feels like, though. Or all the pieces are just stark white.
Yeah.
So all I could find would be the 4 corners, maybe some of the border pieces, but everything else in the middle, there's no possible way that someone like me is going to put it together.
No. Yeah, I feel like I was too dumb for this one, honestly.
I probably am. This is one of those, I feel like, listen at your own risk type of things. Again, maybe you'll get something profound out of this book. You'll be like, listen up, dummies. Yeah. You guys didn't understand the, inner workings of this book. And you'd be right.
You're probably right. Yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm definitely ready to admit that I didn't understand this one.
Right. I think this had some interesting parts. This was one of the most, maybe not the most, but it struck up some emotions I've never had another book strike up before, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely, like I said, there were parts of this where I was I found myself actually cringing.
Yeah, there are parts that are gross.
Right. The fight with, when they're using David and stuff, that's one of the most elaborate fight scenes that I've heard in a book in a long time. Feels very visceral. And that's really cool. I think Stephen King is one of the few authors who could do something like that. But the other things in between those highlights just feels... Yeah, I know I'm missing something. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I don't even know what I don't know.
Right. Well, what do you think? We done beating this dreamlike horse?
This ghost horse? Yeah. I think I said everything I wanted to say. And I also don't want to give the impression that I didn't like this book, because it's not that I didn't like it. It's just I didn't understand it.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah. Again, I wouldn't say I hate this book. Trust me, you'll know if we hate it.
Oh yeah.
Listen to one of our previous episodes.
Yeah. Exactly.
you'll know if we don't like it. That's not the case here. This is just, it's kind of confusing. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what everybody else has to say about this. So if you have listened to this, if you've read this, if you've seen the movie, please feel free to email us and let us know your guys' thoughts. kotpl.pod@gmail.com. It's the easiest way to do that. You can go over and find us on Facebook, KOTPL Cast. You can friend us over there if you want to do that and stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, I think with that, we'll catch you all in the next one.